All Christians agree that the origin of life is unexplained by science. Actually, all scientists agree with this too, though most would say that partial explanations exist, and they expect that a detailed explanation will be found eventually. The major scientific question that divides Christians is how long God took over his creation. Personally, I find the young Earth arguments increasingly difficult. A global flood simply can't account for all of geology. The Gunnison River can only cut through the granite of the Black Canyon at a maximum of 1 inch per century, which is much faster than at present, and yet it is half a mile deep. It's easy for a non-specialist to assume that all dating methods are simply wrong, but it's hard to dismiss the continuous ice cores that record each summer and winter for the last 160,000 years. The explosion of information in genetics should now decide the debate. Complete human genomes of people from all over the planet now reveal the family history of the human race. We can follow the inheritance and movements of populations throughout history and verify them by other historical sources. These genetic differences don't usually represent any improvement. They are like the patterns of people's faces, by which you can recognize who is related to whom. We also have the complete genome of thousands of other species, and we can see that they display the same kinds of tiny differences. These differences also follow family trees, which match the relationships that were predicted by evolutionary theory. Most of these differences aren't related to function, because, for example, marsupial squirrels that developed in isolation in Australia are genetically distinct from other squirrels, even though they are very similar. God could have deliberately placed these family tree patterns into DNA, along with an apparent age for everything else in his creation. However, I can't imagine any purpose for this, except to make us believe in evolution. A simpler explanation is that all life is related, and that God created us over a very long period of time, as the evidence found in nature implies. Does it matter how long God took to make the Earth? I think it does, because the answer tells us something about God. If he made this planet in a week, then he has given it an appearance of history which seems deceptive. He would have made coal shaped like trees that had never stood, and bones of fossils that never lived. When he made the stars, he would have included the light beams that had apparently been travelling towards us for millions of years. Those beams show events millions of years ago, such as stars collapsing into black holes. Of course, if the stars and their light beams were made only a few thousand years ago, they are showing events that never really happened. This is called the Omphalos hypothesis, and has a long and respectable history. It conjectures that when God created the Earth, he laid rock strata in an order that suggests a long geological history, with ancient bedrock lower than sedimentary rocks, making the chalk appear to be made from sea creatures millions of years ago. All this is possible, but personally I can't envisage that God would set out to deceive us in such a calculating way and in such minute detail. The Bible doesn't say clearly whether God took a long time or a short time. But God's motive is clear in the Bible. He wants us to seek him. and find him. God bless.